So the first topic that I'm going to cover is the president. So if you look into the Constitution of India, what the Constitution says, the Constitution says that there shall be a president and the president shall be the head of the union executive. So from this particular line, you should understand a lot of things. There shall be a president. And in fact, the Constitution says that there shall always be a president. What does it mean? Can our country function without a president? There shall always be a president. So that means you should also have an implied understanding that if the president dies, then there's a contingency plan for. You know what the Constitution says if the president is not there? Say, for example, if the president has unfortunately died. So who will act as the president? Vice president. What if the vice president also dies? What does the Constitution say? The Constitution does not say it is a Chief Justice of, but it's a contingency plan, which I'll subsequently discuss. The Constitution only says if the president is not there, who will act as the president? The vice president. If the vice president is also not there, the Constitution does not say anything. The Constitution has given the power to the Parliament to make a law, and by that law, they can decide as to who can act as the president of India. So accordingly, who acts as the president when the vice president is also not there and the president is also not there? In fact, already a law has been made by the Parliament, that is President Contingency Act. According to that, who acts as the president? The Chief Justice of India. So one of my students was asking, what if the Chief Justice of India also dies? Such a situation has never arisen, but what if the Chief Justice of India also dies? The senior most judge of the Supreme Court. So another student was asking, what if the senior most judge of the Supreme Court also dies? Then the next senior most judge. So that is very unlikely to happen because we have 33 judges apart from the Chief Justice of India. But that is not given in the Constitution. So suppose if UPSC asks, as per the Constitution of India, which is not explicitly mentioned in the Constitution. So in the Constitution only says the president. If the president is not there, then who? It is the vice president. The remaining things are given as per the law made by the Parliament. And then it further says he shall be the head of the union executive. So when I say that he shall be the head of the union executive, so here you have to understand he is only the head of the union executive, not head of the state executive. So this also gives us an understanding that India is a federal political system. What do you understand by federal political system? That there exists a division of powers. So only for the union, the president is the executive. But for the state, when I say of federal, there is union and there's a state. And for the state, who is the executive? The governor is the head of the state executive. And further, when I talk of the executive, you have to understand that there are two types of executives. For both the types of executives in the union level, who is going to be the head? It is the president. So what are the further? You can divide the union executive into two types. What are the two types of executive? One is the political executive, and then you have the permanent executive. For both of them, who is the head? It is the president. Okay, so this is the basic understanding you should have from this particular. Now, the second thing that you have to understand is for anyone to become the president of India, the Constitution itself specifies certain qualifications. So that's something that you have to understand. So what are the qualifications that the Constitution provides? The qualification that the Constitution provides is first, he should be a citizen of India. So here it is very important that you understand that he can be a natural born citizen or a naturalized citizen. Is there any difference when I say that a natural born citizen and a naturalized citizen? Our Constitution does not make any distinction as to who is a natural born and a naturalized citizen. But some of the constitutions across the world, they do make this distinction. So can anyone tell me, although this distinction is not there, so it doesn't matter. So now you understand that can a person who is a citizen of USA and who has become an Indian citizen, let us assume through the process of registration or naturalization, you understand even a foreigner can become an Indian citizen. Can he contest election to the office of the president in India? That is very much possible. Okay, so you do not confuse about it. But some of the countries across the world, they allow only a natural born citizen to become their president or the head of the state. But that is not the Indian case. So first is citizen of India. Second is he or she should have completed 35 years of age. That is very important. So sometimes UPSC gives he should be of 35 years of age, or he should have attained 35 years of age. But there's a difference between the word attained and completed. So what the Constitution says? Completed 35 years of age. Citizen, completed 35 years of age. In addition to that, he has to be qualified for election to the Lok Sabha. This is what the constitution says. So what does it mean, qualified for election to Lok Sabha? So many students have a misunderstanding that he should be a member of Lok Sabha. That is not the case. It is not that he or she should be a member of Lok Sabha. If he or she should be a member of Lok Sabha, how many members are there in the Lok Sabha? 543. That means that only those 543 members, any one of them can contest the election. It only says he or she should be qualified for election to the Lok Sabha. That means, in addition to being a citizen of India, completed 35 years of age, the person who wanted to contest election to the President of India should also have all the qualification to contest election to where? Contest election to the Lok Sabha, which is not explained here itself, but rather it is given under Article 84 of the Constitution as to what are the qualifications one should possess to contest election to the Lok Sabha. So further, if you go there, what it is saying, that one should be a citizen of India, which is already covered here. And then if you look into Article 84, it also says he or she should not be less than what age to contest election to Lok Sabha? Should not be less than 25 years. So there it is not completed 25 years. So all these things has to be very clear. He or she should be 25 years of age or not less than 25 years of age, which is overruled by a specific criteria here, that is 35 years of age. And apart from that, it also says that the person who wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha should subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority. As appointed by whom? As appointed by? In case of a person wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha, the person who wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha should subscribe to an oath. That means while filing the nomination papers, he has to subscribe to an oath that the information that he has given in the nomination paper is true to the best of his knowledge. So this person in front of whom the nomination is made is usually called as the returning officer. Have you heard of this? So who appoints this returning officer? The Election Commission of India. So similarly, for the election of the president, who conducts the election? Who conducts the election to the president? The Election Commission of India. So here also, the person who is called as a returning officer in front of whom the president will make the nomination paper is appointed by the Election Commission of India. So who will appoint the person? The Election Commission of India, in front of whom the person who wanted to contest election to the president will file the nomination paper. He is also called as the returning officer. But the Constitution does not say who is to be appointed as a returning officer. It only says that the person who wanted to contest election to the president should subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority appointed by the Election Commission of India. So can anyone tell me who is usually appointed as the returning officer for the president election? Secretary General of what? Very good. So by that, but that's a conventional practice. So if they say that it is given in the Constitution, that is wrong. Okay. It does not specifically say, it is only a what? It is only a conventional practice. Usually that the returning officer who is appointed here, who appoints the returning officer, the Election Commission of India. It's only a conventional practice. Alternatively, it is either the Secretary General Lok Sabha or the Secretary General Rajya Sabha. Okay, 2022 there was a presidential election. Does anyone know who was appointed as the returning officer? Because recently elections have happened. Sometimes they can ask such one or two factual information also. In addition to, so who was appointed as the returning officer for the 2022 presidential election? It was Secretary General Rajya Sabha. So before that, in 2017, when the election happened, it was Secretary General Lok Sabha. So it happens alternatively. So first of all, a person who wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha, I'm just coming again, should be a citizen of India, completed 35 years of age, and then he has to subscribe to an oath in front of whom? The returning officer, who is appointed by the Election Commission of India, who is usually the Secretary General Lok Sabha or the Secretary General Rajya Sabha as appointed by the Election Commission of India. But that is not given in the Constitution. It is only a conventional practice. And apart from that, so these things are directly given in the Constitution. Further, Article 84 says any other qualifications as may be determined by the law. For whom? For someone who is contesting election to the Lok Sabha. So the same qualification will also apply to whom? To someone who is contesting election to the office of the president. So similarly, as per this particular portion, a law has already been made, that is the Representation of People Act 1950. Do you know that the Representation of People Act 1951, in addition to what is given in the Constitution, puts one more condition for someone who wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha. So for someone who wanted to contest election to Lok Sabha, what are the conditions? Citizen of India, should be 25 years of age, subscribe to an oath in front of the authorized authority. In addition to that, any other qualification as may be determined by the law. So that law, that is the representation of the Act 1951. It says anyone who wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha should also be an elector from any constituency in India. He himself should be an elector from any constituency in India. So what does it mean? That he or she himself should be an elector from any constituency in India to general election. So how many constituencies are there to the general elections? 543 constituencies. That means he or she should be an elector from any constituency in India. Out of 543 constituencies, what does it mean? He or she should be an elector means his name should be present in the electoral roll, or in other words, he should possess a voter ID issued by the Election Commission of India. That will be given by the Election Commission of India only when he is eligible to vote. So he should be eligible to vote. Unless and until he is eligible to vote, he is not allowed to contest the election. So similarly, someone who wanted to contest election to the office of the president, his or her name should be there in the electoral roll, and then only he will be eligible to contest election to the office of the president. Is it clear? Is it clear to all of you? But it can be anywhere. It doesn't matter. It can be in any constituency throughout India. So these are the conditions one has to fulfill. In addition to that, the constitution says that he should not hold what is called as an office of. So this is also explicitly given in the constitution. So that means for the president, what are the conditions? So what do you mean by qualifications? So qualification means only when you fulfill all these qualifications, he or she is allowed to contest the election. Now, the last thing that I'm going to discuss deserves a little bit of attention. He or she should not hold an office of profit. So is the office of profit defined anywhere in the constitution? It's nowhere defined. And in case if it is nowhere defined, how do you know as to what is an office of profit? So what is your understanding of what is office of profit? Because the qualification says someone who wanted to contest election of the president should not hold on to office of profit. So what do you understand the office? Of course, if there's no clarity in the constitution, the Supreme Court is the final interpreter of the constitution. So can anyone tell me what the Supreme Court has said as to what is an office of profit? So once it has been asked in UPSC that the constitution defines office of profit. The constitution doesn't define office of profit. It is only the Supreme Court that has given an explanation as to what is an office of profit. Now, the Supreme Court has given this clarity in a number of cases. One such prominent case is the Jaya Bachchan case, where the Supreme Court has categorically said any office, either under the central government, the state government, or under any of the other local authorities, by a way of which a profit is receivable. That is very, very important. It is not that a profit is being taken, even if the profit is receivable. Say, let us assume that I occupy an office and then I take a salary. That means I'm taking a salary. But it is not required that you take a salary or someone is taking a salary, even if profit is receivable. Even if I'm not taking the salary, but there is a salary that is associated with it, then also it can be considered to be an office of profit. That means, what is the understanding you should have? Can a person who is in any government service, let us assume, or someone who is drawing government salary, can they contest election to the office of the president? Can or they cannot? Of course, then they have to resign. Once they resign, then they are no longer in the government service. So now tell me, can a sitting president contest the election? Can a sitting vice president contest the election? Can a sitting governor contest the election? Can a sitting ministers, be it under the union or under the state, can they contest election? But in all these cases, they do derive a salary from the government. Are they taking salary or? And if they take a salary, will it not be considered to be an office of profit? Although a person who wanted to contest election to the office of the president, the general rule is that they should not hold on to office of profit, but there are certain exceptions which is given in the constitution. So what are the exceptions that is given in the constitution? The exceptions are only for these posts: a sitting president, a sitting vice president, a sitting governor of any of the state, a sitting ministers, either under the union or under the state government. They don't have to resign from their post. Without resigning, they can contest. Okay, so this is the understanding you should have. Now tell me, what about a sitting legislator, an MP or an MLA a MLC of any of the state, can they contest election to the office of the president? But the basic understanding is an MP, an MLA, or an MLC is not an office of profit. Because what is an office of profit? Any job, either under the central government or under the state government or under the local authority, in all these cases, they are executive in nature. But an MP, an MLA, or an MLC, they are legislative in nature. They are not an executive post. And hence, it is not considered to be an office of profit in the first place. Okay, so they can definitely contest the election.